Hi, I am Jessica Ardeal with the Professional Healers Institute. Thank you for tuning in to crack the code of your body's intelligence because today's featured health expert has the secret combination. He is a chiropractic holistic physician and internationally known as the best-selling author of The Emotion Code. Dr. Bradley Nelson, thank you for your presence on the panel. Hello.
Thanks for being here, Jessica.
Dr. Nelson, you have developed one of the most advanced forms of energy medicine on the planet, and you utilize muscle testing as a way to navigate that work. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share a little bit about how muscle testing made a difference for you personally and why it's important in the emotion code technique you teach.
Absolutely. Well, it goes back 38 years, really, which is a long time. But I had just recently gotten married, and after I got married, my wife got really sick, and I didn't know what to do to help her. She was, of course, I didn't know anything about healing at that point, and she had the energy to get up and make me breakfast in the morning, and then she'd go back to bed and she'd be in bed all day and just would cry, and it was really awful. So we ended up taking her to see a guy named Dr. Stan Flagg, who is retired now, but this is up in Kalispell, Montana, actually, where I'm from, Montana. So we took her up there. It was about a 3 or 4 hour drive, as I recall, to get her up there. But this guy was well known and saw people from all over the country. And so he ended up doing this muscle testing with her, trying to figure out what was wrong with her. And he was testing supplements and things and other things. And she ended up bringing home a box of these supplements. And I remember sitting there watching him doing this and thinking to myself, okay, this guy is either really onto something or this is really just a big scam. It was one or the other, right? But what happened was my wife recovered really rapidly. I mean, within about a week or so, she was completely well, and so that was kind of a first contact, as I recall, with muscle testing. And so then I had some other great experiences with him. I remember I ended up working with him when I got out of chiropractic school, and I remember one day, a couple of experiences I'll tell you about. There was one day where I had a fish sandwich that I was going to eat for lunch, and I had left it outside in my car while it was a little bit too warm of a day. And after I ate the sandwich, I got sick, and I was feeling really ill, and I was still at work. And he said, "Well, come in here and let me check you." And so he did some things to me, and it was like, it's hard to describe, but it was like all my energy came back into my body, starting from my feet. It just went whoosh up into me, and I was better. And I laughed out loud and I said, "Okay, well, let's go back to work." It was really amazing. There was another occasion. There were a lot of amazing things that I saw there. It was all done through muscle testing. There was another occasion where a woman came in to see us, and she was suffering from such total exhaustion that the only time, and her body was racked with pain, the only time she felt decent was when she was in a tub of really hot water. But she'd have to have a couple of people help her to get out of the tub because she had no energy. It was really awful. And it just happened about 3 weeks before. Really bizarre. So using muscle testing, Dr. Flagg was able to find that she'd been bitten by a spider. And then she was able to verify that. He was able to treat the venom from the spider bite. And this was on a Friday. She was the last patient on Friday, and we closed. Monday morning, I came into the office, and she's sitting in the waiting room, and I didn't recognize her because she looked completely different. And it took me a minute. I thought, gee, this woman looks really familiar. And then I realized who she was and said, "Wow, how are you doing?" She said, "Oh my gosh, I'm totally fine." It was really amazing. So amazing things. And so muscle testing is this incredible way to tap into the subconscious mind. Now, we basically have two minds, right? We have the conscious mind, which is where we live and spend all of our waking hours, right? And that's where we, we go to school and we take our exams and we work our jobs and so on. And we like to think that the conscious mind is pretty smart, but the reality of it is there's another part of us that's vastly more intelligent. That's the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is that part of you that is creating new, millions of new red blood cells every minute, that's creating new cells all over the body, that's digesting your food, keeping your heart beating, keeping air moving in and out of your lungs. I mean, that part of you really, I believe, is an order of intelligence that is beyond our ability to really comprehend, far beyond. In fact, I remember what I used to teach people was that, we use about 10% of our intelligence, or maybe 5% of the brain, and so on. And then a couple of years ago, I realized I had never actually tested this myself. And so I did some testing, prayed for help, did some testing, and found that, and you can test this yourself, I found that we consciously use 0.000000001% of our intelligence. So in other words, we're using an almost infinitesimally tiny fraction of our total intelligence consciously. The rest of it is unconscious. And when people die and they go to the other side, somehow all that intelligence opens up to them again. And so a lot of these stories you'll read where people say that when they died, they went to the other side, all of a sudden their mind expanded to this infinite degree almost, and they could ask any number of questions simultaneously, and all the answers would flow in instantly and be understood perfectly. I believe that's really who we are. So what muscle testing does, you see, is it taps into the subconscious mind, that vast intelligence that knows exactly what's wrong with you. You see, that subconscious mind is you can think of it as being like a holographic archiving computer in a way, but far beyond any computer that has ever been devised by mankind. And it's remembering every face you've ever seen in a crowd, everything you've ever eaten or touched or tasted or smelled, the whole history of your health or disease, every infection you ever picked up, every vitamin that you were ever deficient in. On and on and on. And so if you understand that, then it helps you to realize that, okay, the subconscious mind knows the answers. And if you tap into the subconscious mind, then it will tell you. So to give you some examples, when I was in practice, this is how I ran my practice. And for the last 10 years of my practice, I was in practice for about 20 years or so in one form or another. This is what I would do. I would simply use muscle testing to tap into the subconscious mind and ask questions, and I would get answers. And so it worked so well that during the last 10 years that I was in practice, most of the people that I saw had been told there was really no cure for them at all in Western medicine, no help available, period. And yet the vast majority of those people were able to get better because I wasn't trying to band-aid their symptoms. I wasn't trying to suppress their symptoms. I was trying to actually come around to them another way and figure out by asking the subconscious what their body really needed. I mean, what a concept. I mean, holy smokes, right? You'd think that we would have figured this out ages ago, but we didn't.
Dr. Brad, do you find that the emotion code and body code practitioners already come in with a background in muscle testing, or how do you get students comfortable with it that are new to it?
Well, in the emotion code book, we teach a number of different methods of doing it. We teach people how to test other people by holding out their arm. We teach the elbow test, so you can do that on yourself. We teach the, I think we teach the finger pad test where, you can rub the fingers together and that will stick. And these go back thousands of years, I think, especially the finger pad test that goes back to the Chinese somewhere, although they used to use a fingerprint and a thumbnail, which I think actually maybe works not quite as well, but anyway. And the hand solo method where you test one hand, and then the ring and ring method. There's lots of different methods. The bottom line is when you are talking to this computer body, the body will respond in this very subtle way. And the response consists of the body being slightly weaker if the answer coming from the subconscious mind is no. If the answer is yes, the body will tend to stay strong. That's it. It's actually really simple. So all these muscle testing methods, all that they're doing really is they're just picking up this subtle change that is taking place in the physical body when the subconscious mind is reflecting a no answer or a yes answer. That's all it is. So there are methods of muscle testing that probably haven't even been invented yet. I mean, it doesn't even matter, because that's all that they're really doing, is they're picking up this little subtle change that's taking place. But it can be so powerful. I remember once, I'll tell you a story. I had a woman that came in to see me. She'd been hospitalized for 5 days with this pain in her abdomen. They'd run all the tests, and the pain was severe, but they couldn't figure out anything was wrong. None of the tests were positive. So they finally sent her home, and they said, "We can't really help you." And I think behind her back, they're probably saying, you know, it's got to be all in her head. She's lost her mind. All the tests are negative, so therefore she can't have anything wrong. So she came in to see me. It was on a Monday morning, right? So she's been in this terrific pain now for about 8 days. And I did some things. I tested some things and cleared some things, whatever I could find using the emotion code and the body code. And one of the things that showed up that she needed was chromium. And so at the time I said, well, we don't have any chromium right now. We were out of it at the moment. And I said, I think it is something that you need, but I don't think, you know, it doesn't seem like it's probably a big deal. So the next day she comes in and she's actually worse. And I remember exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, it must be her appendix. It must be about to burst. They must have missed it somehow. It's probably going to burst right here on my table. She will probably die, and I'll probably go to jail. That's literally what I was thinking. But anyway, it's so funny that I remember that. But anyway, I didn't know what else to do. And she's there just in this terrible pain. So I broke out the body code and started testing again. And out of all the thousands of possibilities that could have been wrong, it went right to chromium again. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I said, that showed up yesterday. I said, look, your body's trying to tell us this, that you need chromium. I don't know why, I have no idea. But I said, I want you to leave the office right now, go down the street, go to the health food store, buy some chromium, have them give you some water, and open it up, take some right there. Don't hesitate. So she did. 20 minutes later, this woman is literally jumping up and down in my waiting room saying, I'm fixed, I'm fixed. And she said the instant that she took the chromium, the pain was just completely instantaneously gone. And she said, how did that work? And I said, I have no idea, right? I have no idea. But her subconscious mind, you see, knew what she needed. And this is the future, I believe, of all healing. To ask the subconscious mind what it needs, because it knows with a perfect understanding. And what have we been doing all of this up until now throughout mankind's history? What have we done? Well, we've taken, you know, we've looked at people's symptoms, and then we've given them things. And if that doesn't work, we'll try this. And if that doesn't work, we'll try something else. You know, it's kind of like, especially Western medicine does this, where they'll just kind of throw things at you to see what sticks, right? But there's just a better way. And that's what the body code is about. That's what the emotion code is really all about. So it's actually such a simple concept. It kind of is amazing to me that it took us this long to figure it out. But I think that this understanding has probably been known before. And I didn't come up with this. It's just, I learned it actually from this guy, Dr. Stan Flagg, who probably learned it from somebody else. And, you know, that's kind of how it works. But I think in general, especially in Western medicine, this kind of knowledge has been lost. And but I think this is the future of all healing, to ask the subconscious mind what it means. I mean, I routinely got people well who had been told there was no help for them, you know, in the last 10 years of my practice, just by figuring out what their body really wanted.
And the level of frustration that people go through when they're looking for answers, when it's all right there within them, their body is the encyclopedia they can reference.
Yeah.
You know, I'm wondering, Dr. Brad, what do you think as far as the future of integrating this type of education in our public schools so that kids have access to their body intelligence, their emotional intelligence, and how to navigate physical, mental, emotional?
Well, we are working on that. Yeah, that's a great question. We're working on that, and hopefully 5 or 10 years from now, we'll see that happening in some big ways. Kids love to be able to do the muscle testing. They love doing it. They love being able to test their friends and amaze their friends. And I'll tell you a story, just to show you how easy the emotion code especially is. Well, the body code is really simple too. But there was a woman that told me a few years ago that she bought the emotion code book and the book on audio, started reading it and listening to it. And her son started reading it and listening to it as well. And then he started practicing with his friends, and she didn't pay too much attention. But a couple of weeks go by, and one day the phone rings, and she picks up the phone, and there's a woman on the other end of the phone line who identifies herself as the mother of one of this woman's son's friends. And she says, listen, your son's been doing this muscle testing. And she said, I don't really understand what he's been doing, but I have to tell you something. She said, my son has had a severe phobia of water all of his life. And we've tried everything to help him. We've taken him to everybody we could ever think of, and nothing has ever touched this. And she said, right now I'm at the community pool. And she said, my son is out playing in the water with the other boys for the very first time in his life. She said, your son did this. She said, how is this possible? She was just blown away. And those kids are only 11. Those two boys are only 11. So there's tremendous potential here. In fact, the youngest person that we know of using the body code successfully she's probably 6 years old now. She was 5 years old in Mexico City. Her mother had the iPad, an iPad with the body code on it. And this little girl would go through it and touch the nodes and find out what was wrong. And she'd say, Mommy, Daddy has this. And Mom would check it. And she was always right, apparently.
I love the stories you're sharing because they really illustrate how the body responds when you pay attention to it at those subtle levels, right? And yes. I'm wondering, Dr. Nelson, what's the number one thing you think we need to be aware of when it comes to accessing our emotional intelligence through the wisdom of the body?
Well, I think that the number one thing probably to recognize, which has been hitherto, I think, really unknown and unrecognized, is the effect that our emotional baggage has on us. Every disease process in the last 30 years that we have looked at has had trapped emotions, emotional baggage, as an underlying cause of that disease. Think of that. I mean, think of all the people right now that are taking medication or getting chemo or radiation or whatever, and that's fine. But there's a component of their diseases, every disease that we've seen, that is an emotional component. Now, sometimes that emotional component is the biggest factor in the illness. Sometimes it's a lesser factor, but it seems to always be there so far. As a holistic physician, for me, it was kind of like if you're a cop, and every time you get called to go on a bank robbery, you see the same white van parked across the street, you start to get suspicious, right? And that's kind of what happened here. Everybody that we'd work on, every kind of disease that we would work on, there was always an emotional component. So that's number one, I think. And number two, I think it's important to realize that we choose our emotions. Whether we think we choose our emotions or not, we really do choose them. And there are ways that, in fact, the last chapter 11 of the new emotion code revision, talks about that process and how you can recognize what's going on, how you can prevent yourself from developing new trapped emotions in the future. So think about this. Trapped emotions, I believe, in my opinion, and what I have seen, are the biggest underlying cause of things like depression and anxiety and phobias and panic attacks and PTSD and eating disorders and self-sabotage of all kinds, but also things like asthma and digestive problems and infertility and also pain. I mean, physical discomfort, physical pain in the body. 90% of all that physical pain seems to have emotional baggage as the underlying cause or as a big contributing factor. And that's what's driving the success of the emotion code, worldwide, which is just a phenomenal thing. Because it works. In fact, I have to tell you, I took my wife to the dentist this morning, and the dentist was telling us that her son has been a missionary down in Peru. And the lady that was cooking their meals and kind of helping to take care of them was sort of into holistic things. And she said, you know, when you get back, you really need to check out this emotional thing and find out about this, because it turns out emotions are a big part of our health and so on. She said, this guy's name is Dr. Bradley Nelson. And well, her son is actually, his mother is actually my dentist, Dr. Michelle Jorgensen, in American Fork, Utah. And so, so that was kind of fun. So I recorded a little video with him that they're going back down there to visit her. But you know, in the middle of nowhere, Peru, we have 5,000 practitioners now. Plus, I mean, maybe getting close to 6,000. I don't know, in about 77 or 78 countries around the world. And on top of that, those are just the certified people that go through the certification process, which isn't expensive, and then they can actually do this for a living. But we've got, we don't even know how many people, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in the rest of the world that are using this to help their families and friends. And so there's no stopping us. You know, the cat is out of the bag.
Right. Dr. Nelson, what's the best website for people to go and follow up and learn more from?
Well, there's really two websites that are good. They can go to Emotion Code Gift. It's emotioncodegift.com, and they can download the first couple chapters of the book. The book's available, of course, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and on Audible, and you can get the book in all the bookstores. The other website is discoverhealing.com. And if you go to discoverhealing.com, that's our main site. And if you're looking for somebody that can work with you, we have people all over the world. And this is done at a distance as well as in person. So you can find somebody. Just click on the practitioners button. You'll see a map of all these practitioners all over the world. And if you want to have somebody help you, that's a great place to go. And also to find out more information about certification and so on.
I've received some sessions over the phone with Emotion Code and in person too. And I really love the heart wall work too that I was able to receive and work through, and literally had woken up 5 pounds lighter. So to speak to that excessive, you know, the emotional baggage and the excessive weight, there's a component with all factors in our health and our emotion. And I'm just wondering if there's anything else you want to share before we go, Dr. Nelson. I know you're busy. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know, the heart wall, really, you mentioned that. That's the most important part of the work that we do. And if you think about it, when we feel like our heart is going to break, there's a physical sensation, right? You can feel like there's an elephant sitting on your chest, like you can't breathe. And that's where those words heartache and heartbreak really come from. Well, in Western medicine, if you go to medical school, you'll find out, or they'll tell you that the heart is just a pump and that's it, right? But ancient societies believed the heart was really much, much more, that it was a second brain, that it was the seat of the soul, the source of love and creativity and romance and all of that. In fact, even today, if it's Valentine's Day, if you're lucky, somebody will give you a heart-shaped box of something yummy, right? Because it's all about romance and love. And those ideas go back to ancient times. Every culture that I've looked at has had those ideas. And so now we have equipment that is actually showing that the heart really, truly is a second brain. It puts out this huge magnetic field. When you're feeling love or affection for another person, your heartbeat will show up in their brain waves and your heart rates will synchronize and so on. So what we have found is that when you're feeling like your heart's going to break, the subconscious mind will build a wall around your heart made from layers of your emotional baggage. And when you have a heart wall, it makes it more difficult for you to really manifest the perfect blueprint of your life that is in the heart. See, when people say follow your heart, what they're saying is something that's a profound truth. But 93% of people in the world seem to have this wall. And that's part of the reason why the world is so messed up, because everybody is living not from this brain here, but from this brain here. This brain up here feels nothing. And so that's why we're in the 21st century, and it's, you know, we still think politically that it's perfectly acceptable to drop bombs on people and starve people with sanctions and all kinds of crazy things, right? That's this brain, feels nothing. This brain feels everything. And what we're moving towards eventually, Jessica, is we're moving towards a world where everyone's operating from this brain, you see. And that is where we need to get to. And the fact that 93% of people on the planet have a wall around this brain it's a critical piece of the puzzle in taking this world from where we are to the next level. And we're going to get there eventually. So, my advice is if you haven't read the Emotion Code book, if this is your first time finding out about it as a listener, get yourself a copy and read about it. Go to emotioncodegift.com if you want to, and you can read the first couple of chapters, for free and see what you think. And then go to Amazon and buy it, or go to Audible and get it on audio. You can listen to it, or go to your bookstore and then try it out. What's happening is people are trying it and they're finding out this actually does work. And that's the beauty of muscle testing, because right now we don't have a better way to tap into the subconscious mind. So we use muscle testing until something better comes along. But muscle testing is a great gift for us, and it enables us to tap into the subconscious, find out what our emotional baggage is, get rid of it, and then ascend and have better lives.
Absolutely. Mental health is such a big topic. So what else is possible when we get out of our head and into our heart? And thank you for giving us the tools. Individuals around the world are passing it on, all because of you and your dedication to making the world a better place. Thank you, Dr. Bradley Nelson, for your time and everything you do.
Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate you having me on. If you want to do it again, let me know.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.